I know we don't have too much time, and I want to make sure that we get the rest of our callers. Who do you want to talk to next?
Okay, so we have a call from someone named Chandler. And I do want to make sure that I clarify this in case it's confusing for people. But I also want to preface this by saying, Chandler, if you are not being an honest interlocutor, or if this is going to get into a debate, then we're just going to move on, because really this isn't the format for it.
And if you're going to Baba Booey us, I don't know how to handle that.
He's scarred now. He's been scarred. Chandler, hi, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Don't worry, I'm not going to Baba Booey anybody. Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
So, okay, I just have a quick question before we start with the subject that it's going to be really easy for you guys to, answer to me, and we can move on, to the subject at hand. If you guys allow me to ask you this question real quick.
Well, I mean, this is a place for you to call in and ask questions, so we will decide if we want to answer it, but go for it.
Okay, no problem. So this is a question. It's about your show. The way I see, your show is really growing. You guys getting a lot of audience. Do you guys got any plans in the near future to, get some of the guys that left the ACA into your show?
So there are a couple. There's actually one or two that I would really like to. One I've reached out to and who is tentative and being like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I know there are a couple of other ex-hosts from then who are still our friends and people who we really care about. And yeah, I'm sure it will happen. But in the meantime, a lot of people are kind of far away. They're doing their own thing, COVID, separation, all of that. And plus, V and I love doing the show together. Like, I don't want to give up a weekend. When I don't do the show, oh God. And I know V feels the same way.
But yeah, if somebody wanted to be on the show, or if you wanted somebody to come on the show, definitely that is something we could talk about for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
The reason I say that is because I don't say you guys don't know. I'm sorry, I got a issue. English is not my main language.
You're okay, dude.
Yeah, I understand. The reason of this. You guys are doing a great job. I don't say you guys aren't. It's just that let's say you guys decide to open all the shows and you want to put those other guys and grow, your channel. That would be great. To see that happening, because you guys are doing a great job, and I'm really happy that your show is going the way it's going.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Honestly, Chandler, that's the hope. The hope is that once we build the platform to the point that we can, because it's expensive to do, but once we do that, I would love to use the platform to help grow other voices in the community. And should I tell them or no? Leave it.
I don't know what you're talking about, so.
I would love at some point to move into non-English speaking stuff, because it's not just an English-speaking conversation. But
yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, I think I remember you mentioned that when you used to be in the ACA, that before COVID, you have plans to open, like a Spanish, show, something like that, and COVID came in, and, that went nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that.
At some point.
So, yeah, I remember that. Okay, so let's go back to, the subject at hand. Look, the reason I'm calling is because I remember that pretty much I watch all your episodes because I got a job that I drive and listen to your podcast all the time.
Nice.
And the ones for the older people that you guys used to deal with too. And I remember there was an argument that you had with a lady, a conversation you had with a lady. She was talking about, it was about racism and these, the racist organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about, super straight and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then the conversation went into, I think you asked her if she was willing to date a trans.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. And I think she said no. And I guess the conversation went to a point that you got, you got angry about that, and it went to a point where you hang up and you say to this lady, look, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not remember exactly your words, but you say something like, oh, you know what, like, don't date trans, they're not gonna, they don't need you or something like that. Or,
Yeah. So you just want a little bit of clarification with that? Yeah, for sure. So here's why that particular call got heated. I am totally happy to have conversations about trans issues with anybody. The problem was that she was very specifically endorsing a very aggressive and racist form of transphobia as her reason for not wanting to date a trans person, right? If you're not interested in somebody and they are also trans, that's fine. You don't have to date them. Like, that's not a problem for anybody. Yeah, no, that's totally fine. The problem comes from the reason you wouldn't date somebody being based in harmful rhetoric and misunderstanding of science, right? And then you're not talking even about the dating itself. You're talking about, well, where is your justification coming from? What is your thought process? What's your worldview? And that's what we have problems with. So yeah, if you don't want to date a trans person, that's totally fine. Nobody is going to pressure you into doing that, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. What you should take into account, though, is why is that, right? And do a little bit of thinking on your own about what are things that I'm assuming about this person because I know they're trans, or what are some things that are actually the reasons? Maybe I'm not into certain genitalia, right? Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's not that they're trans at all. Maybe it's that, oh, I'm making the assumption that this person has this set of genitals and I'm not attracted to that. In which case, cool, you've uncovered the reason you wouldn't want to date that person, and be polite and say no thank you and move on.
Yeah, but just the assumption that it's because somebody's trans is weird. It's weird in a way that I think is going to get a whole lot more interesting in the future when, you know, when people are able to transition a lot more seamlessly, because I want to create that world, you know. But I heard an argument, and I'd love to hear it had out at some point, about natural born redheads. You know, I don't want to date a redhead, you know, and but I dye my hair brown. Oh, but you were a redhead? I don't dye natural born redheads. Like there's a whole thing there, and maybe I completely butchered that whole
No,
thing,
that's an interesting thought experiment. And I think, honestly, Chandler, the main takeaway here is that no one's going to get mad at you for your dating preferences. That is within your control, and as long as you are engaging in consensual relationships with other adults, then you're good. But a larger conversation to have, either, you know, on this show or elsewhere in my DMs, if you're interested, is what about a trans person is not attractive to you, and why? Because we have these preconceived notions that feel very natural to us because we've been seeped in them for so long because of where we live and the culture around us. That makes us come to assumptions about things that might not be accurate. So in general, that's my clarification on that.
Hey, Chandler, what's your native language?
Excuse me?
What is your native language? You said English isn't your first language.
Oh, Spanish.
Spanish?
Yeah, Spanish.
What country?
Puerto Rico.
Okay. So.
Well, it's not a country; it's a territory.
Got it. So, I don't know. I know that I'm very white passing, but I am Latino. I'm half Mexican, right? If somebody were to say, I like men, but I wouldn't date a Mexican. Well, shit, I've met Mexicans that are blonde hair, blue-eyed, Spaniard-looking motherfuckers, redheads even. What about being a Mexican is it that you don't like? It's just so kind of weird, If somebody were to find out, and it's actually happened to me before. Somebody was just like, "Oh, you're Latino. Ooh, that's not going to work out." And I was like, "Well, thank you for letting me know. I don't want to date you either." And I think that's kind of at least that's how I approach it.
Yeah, it's like something that I explained you guys at the beginning. So in that way you guys can understand where I am and where I was. I used to be a Republican in the past, but I used to be an atheist Republican in the past. I don't know what the hell, I was an atheist and a Republican at the same time. Because one thing makes sense and the other one doesn't make sense. Then you know what? I switched to become a Democrat, but I still like a centrist, but centrist to the left. I don't go way too far to the left. Because I'm a Gen X, you know, like I'm in my early 50s right now. But one thing I could tell you about myself when it comes to, you know, my preferences, I am bisexual. You know, I like women. I've been with women. I've been with men.
Yo también.
Okay. Yeah. So, but the thing is that personally, yeah, I got different preferences too.
Yeah.
It's just like I've never been, you know, I just say I've been with a woman, I've been with a man, but I never been with a trans, but it's something that I've never been attracted to. But it's not, but just to clear it out, with people that they are trans, I treat them with respect. Even when I was a Republican, I never discriminate with them or anything because that wasn't my thing. Maybe when I was in my 20s, you know, like everybody was, you know, making gay jokes left and right. Maybe
Chandler?
back then.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Yeah, Chandler, I'm right there with you. But I wish we had time to go more into those details.
We
no problem. Thank you for waiting on the line. Is there anything else that you wanted to?
No, just thanks for.
I appreciate that you cleared that for me, B and Eric. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in and asking for clarification. We always want that.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Take care. Have a good one.
You as well. Yeah, that was cute. Also, for everybody in the chat who may have bristled a little bit with the way that Chandler was using trans, English isn't his first language. It's fine. It's very clear that he is well-meaning and, you know, is not using it in a derogatory way. So you're good.
I think he referred to himself as a Puerto Rican and not a Puerto Rican person. It can
be confusing if you're not a native English speaker.